In this section, we're going to talk about how to find a missing side length or the side that they're asking for. So in our first example, it asks you to find the value of x using this given picture. So we see a right triangle where the hypotenuse, which is always across from the right angle, is 18. We have our one angle, 42 degrees, and we're looking for x. So, without doing so much steps, so much work, we're going to use this angle, 42 degrees, so our angle is 42 degrees. Now, if we're looking for x, we have to identify the sides. So, we have the hypotenuse, which is the longest side across from the right angle. So we have the hypotenuse, which is 18. And then the other side, which is x, we see that it's right next to it. So even though this is the hypotenuse, is right next to the 42 degrees, this one is not the hypotenuse, but is next to it. So that means it's adjacent to the 42 degrees. So we have the adjacent, which is x. So now this is where trig function comes in. We have to use one of the 6 trig function in order to find the value of x. But most importantly, just look at the 3 basic ones: sine, cosine, and tangent. Now, the only one of the 3 basic trig function that has hypotenuse and adjacent is cosine. So, if we review, cosine theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. So, we have our information. We have our angle, which is 42 degrees. We have our hypotenuse, which is 18, and our adjacent is x. So, I'm just going to fill in the angle, which is 42. So, cosine of 42 degrees in parentheses. Adjacent, we don't know, so it's just x. For hypotenuse, is 18. Alright, so we have cosine 42 degrees equals x over 18. Now, using algebra skills, in order to get x by itself, I need to remove the denominator. So since we have a denominator, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the denominator on both sides. So I'm going to multiply the whole fraction on the right side by 18, and I'm going to multiply the left side by also 18. So when that happens, on the left side will simply be 18 cosine of 42 degrees equal x over 18 times 18. Well, over here, since 18 is a whole number, 18 divided by 18 is just 1. 1 times x is just x. So, we have that now. Again, at this point, 18 cosine of 42 degrees, you can't do anything by hand or use anything that we learned from algebra. This part, you have to use a calculator. Now, using this calculator, first we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to go to document settings. I'm going to hit enter. So, looking closely, first for angle, when we're finding the value of x or finding a missing side length, we got to make sure it's on radian. So I'm going to go to angle, hit enter. Oh, I accidentally exited out, so I'm going to go back to document settings. Alright, so selected angle, I'm going to hit right. Select degrees, hit enter. Change nothing else, leave everything else. And then I'm going to go to make default. Hit OK. Alright, now I'm going to go to calculate. Alright, so now I'm going to type in this 18 cosine of 42. So I'm going to hit 18. Now, in order to select cosine, I'm going to go where it says trig, hit trig, and then you'll see 12 function. Now, the first 6 are the one that we cover in 4.1. Now, the last 6, we're not going to mess with them because they're a different function. Whenever you see a sine to the -1, cosine to the -1, and tangent to the -1, it means arc sine, arc cosine, and arc tangent. We haven't gone over that, so we're not going to use those 6 functions. So be very careful when you select them. This one we're using cosine, so we're just using the one on the top. And then hit enter. And then it says 42 degrees, so all I'm doing is we're going to hit 42 degrees. Hit to the right. And then I'm going to hit control. And then enter. So you got 13.3766. So 18 times cosine of 42 is 13.3766 equals to x. Well, I don't want too many decimal places, so I'm just going to round to one decimal place. So it's going to be 13. So I'm going to round 3766. It's going to round up to 4. So 13.4 equals to x. So that is our answer when it comes to finding a missing side length. So x is 13.4. Same section, example 2. Find the value of x. Now we have this triangle, right angle triangle, 53 degrees, 15 for one side, and then x for the other side, but it seems that this is the long side, so it might be the hypotenuse. And we see, yes, the hypotenuse is always across the right angle. So let's write out our information. Our angle is 53 degrees. And then here, this side is across the right angle, so this is the hypotenuse. Which is x. And then we look for the side that is 15. If we compare it with the angle, it's not next to it, so it's not adjacent. It's across, so therefore it's opposite. Which is 15. Alright, now we got our information. Angle, 53 degrees. Hypotenuse, which is x. And opposite, which is 15. Now, to select the 3 basic trig function, the only one that has hypotenuse and opposite is the sine function. So, I'm going to write it on this side. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Alright. So we got our necessary information, even though one of them is x. So we're just going to plug it in. So sine theta is the angle, which we have, so 53 degrees, equal, our opposite is 15, so we're going to put it on the top, over, our hypotenuse is x, so we're going to put it on x. So we have sine 53 degrees equals 15 over x. Now, here, we have x on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So we get rid of it, and it's not the denominator, so when I do that, on the left side, x times sine 53 degrees is just sine 53 degrees, and I forgot, you don't have to put that degree symbol, x equal x divided by x is 1. 1 times 15 is just 15. Now, even though we're solving for x, that means we have to get it by itself. So, since we have sine 53, x equals 15, I want x by itself, so I need to divide, since it's multiplying. I'm going to divide by sine 53 on both sides. So since I divided on the left side, I do it on the right side. So now, on the left side, sine 53x divided by sine 53 will be just x. On the right side, it would be 15 over sine 53. Alright, back to the calculator. Now again, we gotta make sure we're in degree mode. So go to settings, hit enter, and then go to document setting, which is the second one, and we see an angle. It says degree, so we're fine. So I'm gonna hit escape. Then we're gonna go to calculate. So here we're gonna type in 15 over sine 53. So I'm going to hit 15 divided by. Now I want to be very careful since we have sine 53 on the bottom. I'm going to put parenthesis. So open parenthesis. I'm going to hit the trig button. So trig. And then I'm going to select sine. And then I'm going to hit 53. And then I'm going to hit right to get outside the parenthesis. And then I'm going to hit Control, Enter. So 15 over sine 53 is 18.782. So x is equal to 18.782. But I don't want too many decimals since I'm almost done. So basically I'm just going to round up to one decimal place. So x equal 18. Now 0.782, when I round that up, because the 8, so it's going to round up to 8. So x is just 18.8. And that's our final answer. Now again, when you're almost near the end, if you have this answer, you should always round to one decimal place. Okay? If you have a number with multiple decimal places and you're still working not near the end, I'm going to keep it the same and then keep using the number when I'm working, multiplying, adding, subtracting, dividing, or using the trig function with the numbers. But when I'm near the end, then I'm going to round to one decimal place.